We're always looking to see how young people are feeling about the state of politics. A lot of the attention that we pay is to the people who are actually going to vote. A lot of the people who, turn out in the primaries, who are more politically engaged, those are disproportionately going to be boomers, Gen X, and just older, more engaged people in general. Young people largely don't vote. A lot of them have very dystopian views of politics, but they're citizens and their views are not reflected in our government whatsoever. So there's a new poll from the Harvard Kennedy School. Let's put it up there on the screen. 52% of 18 to 29-year-olds believe American democracy is either, quote, in trouble or failing. Nearly half of young Republicans place the chances of a second civil war at 50% or higher, compared to 32% of Democrats. So,
neither one is a good number, by the way.
Yeah, I would generally say I want that number to be as low as possible. And 52% is a real problem and is especially a disaster. And I really think what you can see within the poll and in terms of how people feel is just a complete hopelessness that anything is going to get better. I think that's what always is. The Civil War thing is generally LARPing to me. Mm-hmm. Really what it is like, it's not gonna get better. I don't see how things can get better. And I think one of the reasons why you see that is the intractable problems of your lifetime, if you're below 35 or 40 years old, what has been solved? We've seen a record booming economy of the 90s turned into whatever the hell we're living in right now. The war in Iraq was a total disaster. The government and the president literally lied to our face while our friends and people that we knew went abroad and died in a war, which, look, I hate saying it, I respect their service, but ultimately what was achieved? Mm-hmm. Financial crisis, twice, in the lifetime, that you see people just get wiped out. A lot of these Republicans, disproportionately, are very likely to be people who didn't go to college. Their wages have stagnated for 40 years, have only recently gone up because of the Great Resignation. How long is that going to last? I mean, Hollywood and all of that, obviously totally taken over by a very specific ideology. I think that's where a lot of it comes from, Krystal. It's just, the other thing that really came out to me was this. Half of young Americans in the poll say they are a different person because of COVID-19.
Yeah,
COVID changed everything for people who were our age and younger, and the people who are older, it just kind of, it was something. It was, but it wasn't the transformative event that it was, I think, for a lot of us.
I think there's just a sense that the priorities of the younger generation are not remotely reflected.
Yeah.
In our current political system or nation writ large. And so, they feel like, of course you would feel like democracy is failing when you feel like your preferences and your votes don't matter. When what you've experienced in your lifetime is one setback after another, one crisis after another. As a nation, of course you look at that and go, no, this is not going well whatsoever. Right. As just one indicator of that, they ask the approval rating of various politicians, so you can throw this up on the screen. Bernie, still the most popular, plus 12%. Biden, barely eking out a plus 2%. +2. Harris, -3%. Pelosi, -22%, and Trump, -33%. Now listen, who is likely to be the matchup next time around? Either Trump or Harris or Biden, none of whom have very favorable ratings among this group. So you're looking at even the choices, quote unquote choices that are being offered, and you're going, I don't like any of these people. Yeah. Where is one politician? What are you supposed to do? Where is one leader that I might be able to believe in and get behind and who reflects the values that I have in my sense that we're in free fall and that we need, some relatively dramatic change to get things back on track. And that's just not even on the menu in the political system. Another thing they point to is, not only do half feel like they are a different person because of the pandemic, there's also some very troubling numbers here about the number of young Americans who report being down, depressed, and hopeless. A majority, half, 51%, say they're either down, depressed, or hopeless. 25%, a quarter of our young adults saying they have thoughts of self-harm at least several times in the last 2 weeks. I mean, you think about a failing society. These are the individuals who are the future. They should be the bright shining stars. They should have the whole, the world is their oyster and their whole lives ahead of them and feeling excited and engaged and optimistic about the future if we were a healthy society. Instead, they're anxious and depressed and worried, and a quarter, 1 out of 4, having repeated thoughts of self-harm, that's a national catastrophe. And again, when you have a generation, I mean, these are, again, massive warning signs for our society. You have a generation that feels totally disconnected from the democratic process, barely believes in it anymore, and that has all of this, anger and dissatisfaction and has been cut off at the knees time and time again in their young lives in terms of being able to build a stable life and potentially have a family and all of those normal things. It doesn't lead to a good place. I mean, that just doesn't end well when you shut off the aspirations of your youngest generation.
No, I mean, look, how would you define a successful presidency? This is not hard. Most young people are actually very united in this. And look, I know partisanship skews it, but number one, strengthening the economy, 58%. Number two, bringing the country together, 45%. Number three, improving healthcare, 42%. I'll never forget the first job I had where I didn't have my parents' health insurance anymore, and my deductible was $7,000. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I guess, if I get hit by a bus, I'll be all right. I was like, barring that, better be careful. And then I think I thought for a time I had stress fractures or whatever in my feet. I put it off for months because I was like, I do not want to go to the damn doctor. Ended up getting a several $1,000 bill for the MRI. So thank you very much, healthcare system. Number four was addressing climate change, 33%, reducing economic inequality, 32%, improving our public education system, 28%, social justice, 25%, America's standing on the international stage, 20%. I mean, the top three alone, healthcare, bringing the country together, strengthening the economy, huge support amongst young people because they're the ones who get screwed, especially on the back end. And over again, what they point to, this is also another one that I kind of liked. They value compromise over confrontation. I don't think they mean it in the DC sense of let's compromise to invade Afghanistan. They're like, look, we have major structural problems all across the board. Something has got to happen. The country is sclerotic. It's not working for us. We can't afford a home, can't afford rent, moving back in with our parents, depressed, contemplating self-harm, and also this pandemic just robbed us of two of the most valuable years of our lives. Somebody please just do something.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they mean whenever they say compromise.
I think the climate change piece is really significant too, for obvious reasons. I mean, and this bears down in other polling I've seen, it's actually oftentimes it's the youngest generation and the oldest generation that are most concerned about climate change because I think there's a sense of what am I passing forward to my grandkids? And then for young people, it's obviously what kind of a world am I going to live in? How is this all going to work out? And there's an overwhelming sense that the Biden administration is not doing nearly enough to address climate change. A majority, 56% of young Americans expect climate change to impact their future decisions. Nearly half already see its local effects. So just one more instance where they feel their views and priorities and the issues that are going to shape their ability to have safe and happy lives not being reflected by our political class whatsoever. So major red flags here in terms of the health of society and the nation. And then you go and look at the last thing they poll is less than 1/3 of young people believe that America is the greatest country in the world. They don't believe in America the way that previous generations did. And based on their experience, who could blame them?
Yeah.
Who could blame them?
Listen, I know. That one hurts the most. It really is sad. But look, you gotta prove it in order to actually be it. So that's what we have to work on the most.
All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We're going to have more for you later. Hey, guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.